On Larry King Now, Martin Short, the actor and comedian, on what he finds funny.
You know, I was always fascinated by morons with power. They got assistants, and that assistant's sweating because their tuna fish sandwich was late, and what kind of tuna fish is this?
On his favorite characters.
Well, you know, the concept in Father the Bride, you had to figure out a way to talk in a way that the audience could understand, but Steve could go legitimately, what?
Plus, the loss of your wife.
Hey, listen, I could have a full conversation with Nancy right now, as if she's here. I know exactly what she'd say, because you do. We were together for 36 years. So at a certain point, you literally become one person.
That's next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now, one of my favorite people. Actor, comedian, writer, producer, best known for his work on Saturday Night Live and comedies like Three Amigos, Pure Luck, Mars Attacks, and Father of the Bride. He was the judge on Canada's Got Talent. He recently voiced 3 characters in Tim Burton's Frankenweenie. He's Martin Short.
Larry.
Martin.
Larry.
Martin.
Is it Larry?
Is it Martin? How good of you to be here.
Well, at least it wasn't a schlep.
How did you wind up playing, let's see, you blew Mr. Frankenstein, the gentle father of science prodigy hero Victor, Mr. Burgermeister, the grumpy mayor, and Nassau, Victor's younger nemesis?
Someone's done his homework.
That's right. How did you?
No, Tim Burton phones you up and says, would you like to play 3 characters? And you say, absolutely, Tim. Because he's a genius, and he's a passionate artist, and he's a great guy. I'd worked with him before Mars Attacks, and you know, he's...
That kind of director, what's it like to work with?
Tim is surprisingly, he's perceived as the dark genius, you know. He's just a jokester, laughing, loose, and very, very collaborative. I think that interesting directors will sit back and say, we've had the control by even hiring you. So now to tell you totally what to do is not necessarily the smartest thing. Let's hear what you have to say. At the end of the day, he'll make the decision. As all directors do, they have the final cut.
Is he quirky?
No, I don't think he's quirky at all. He's very funny. He loves to laugh, and he's a great hang, as we say in showbiz.
You're an SNL alumni. Why didn't you work more years on that show?
I just had a 1-year contract. It was called the George Steinbrenner year. You know, they were Eddie Murphy had left, and Dick Ebersol, who was running it then.
No, Dick well.
Yeah, Lorne had taken a 5-year break. And Dick was constantly facing, you know, this was the 10th season of Saturday Night Live then. This is 84, 85 season. And they were constantly facing the potential of cancellation. In fact, they didn't even have a wig department. They would just rent stuff every year, because they were always waiting, are we picked up another year? And Eddie Murphy left, and he thought, we could be in trouble. And so he hired Billy Crystal to a 1-year contract, Christopher Guest to a 1-year contract, Harry Shearer to a 1-year contract, myself. And, you know, I had a new baby. I had done SCTV for a few years. You know, it's a hectic show, especially, and I think the way I did it, because I knew I was only doing 1 year, I treated it like 22 specials. It was like, I was there all the time. Maybe if I'd known, maybe if I'd sat back and said, you know, you're going to be here 6 years, I would have taken it a little easier. So
did they ask to renew you after a year, or?
Yeah, well, Lorne came back and he asked me, did I want to do it? But it was nothing I planned to do.
Of course, your career died after that. Nothing.
Yeah, it was faded away.
What was Canada's Got Talent like?
Oh, that's hilarious. I'd never done something like that, you know.
What was it? Was it like America's?
It was America's Got Talent, but in Canada. And Canada does have talent. And they asked me to be a judge. You know, you're kind of... I have this slight prejudice against reality shows until I started watching them. Because there's a difference between reality shows, you know, the Kardashians, and, you know, America's Got Talent, which is a celebration. It's our present form of the Ed Sullivan Show. Modern day variety. So when I started watching America's Got, I said, oh, this could be fun. And it was fun. I liked doing it. But again, 1-year contract.
Were you a good judge?
I was a very kind judge. I was a nurturing judge.
Oh, you are, yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
I
do that.
hate those judges that have no talent and then are. See, I always think if I was a 20-year-old and a no talent judge told me I was no good, I'd say, dude, can we discuss your career now? As they're, taking me off. And it wouldn't make the final cut. They'd edit it out.
You're doing stand-up. You're in Florida December 12th, 14th, 15th, 16th?
Yeah, I do a concert, really, it's like a one-man variety show. It's
like your Broadway show?
Yeah, but...
I loved your Broadway show. I was on stage with
I know you were. Fame becomes me. Your nephew, executive producer.
Scott Zeiger produced it.
Yeah, very powerful
great
man.
Show. Great
Thanks.
show.
Well, it's not that, but it's a form of that. It's just me, but the characters show up and you're singing and dancing, and it's as if I was hosting Saturday Night Live, and I was the entire cast and the host. And I change the title. Sometimes I call it "Let Freedom Hum." Sometimes it's called "If I Saved, I Wouldn't Be Here." Some "Stroke Me, Lady Fame." Sunday in the Park with George Michael. It changes from location to location.
You are, how would you describe your talent to yourself? I mean, you are so multi-gifted. What is your driver's license? Does your driver's license call for an occupation?
Yeah, it says multi-gifted. Strangely enough. So, what archery? I don't know. I think, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to describe your own talent. I guess I sing, for example, but I'm in comedy. So if you sing in comedy, you can't legitimately sing because people are waiting for the sandbag to drop on you.
Did you want to be a singer ever?
I did. I wanted to be Sinatra. I used to, when I was 14, I still have it. Sinatra had released an album called September of My Years.
Yep.
Well, I'm 14, and so I would have two tape recorders, and I'd play the record, my reel-to-reel, and the arranger would go da 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 da. But Frank was now 52 or something, so his voice was deeper, and I'd now be some days you look around and it's wind, and because my voice had to be low, and then I'd sing the parts, and then when the orchestra would come in, I'd turn it on again, and I'd put an album together.
So you could have been a singing star.
I wanted to be a singing star. What
changed?
I got into comedy. I started doing musicals, and I realized I had that gift. Then I got into Second City. And then again, once you do that, you can't then do the other. I can be on Letterman and sing a comedic song, but I can't go and sincerely, do a medley of songs that weren't nominated.
We'll talk about how it all began with Martin Short next. We're back with the great Martin Short. I use the word great, not advisedly. He is
Yes, but you say, if someone does the sink nice, you say, that's great. I mean, it depends how you use that word.
You have 3 grown children, right?
I do.
Are any of them in the business?
No. Yes. My son Oliver works at Warner Brothers.
As?
He's an executive assistant to a senior VP, and he's learning, he's listening in and learning all the the ways of running a studio. And that's what he wants to do. He wants actually to be in sports production, too.
And the other 2?
My daughter Catherine is a master's in social work, and she works at UCLA. And my son Henry just graduated from Notre Dame, and he wants international finance. And right now he's working with the Royal Bank of Canada in Toronto.
Wow. I just heard you talking on the phone about Notre Dame, but you got a good team.
We do. We do. I have 2 kids. I'm like Regis and I are the big supporters.
I went with Regis to Notre Dame.
That's right.
Me out there, so.
I remember having dinner once with Regis, and you guys you were upstairs with Sean, and you came down, and we got into a discussion, and he said, no, you're wrong, and he brought you down to, and I think I won.
But Notre Dame has
Listen, it's the best year. My kids have been going there since 2004, and this is the best season. Every time I ever went, they'd lose. But for the first time, they played in Dublin Field in September against Navy. And my Christmas gift the year before to the kids was to fly them all over to Ireland for that game. And they won 50-10. This is in September.
I don't want to dwell on it, but the loss of your wife.
Yeah.
What, was that sudden?
No, she had ovarian cancer. But it was, I would say 6 months. I mean, it was a 3-year illness but she was ill for 6 months at the end.
How did she deal with it?
Well, I think, how does anyone deal with it? She was brave. She, at times, denial fueled her, and at times, realism fueled her too.
How the kids deal with it?
I think they go in different phases. They go in different, it's not like setting a watch.
There are different phases of loss, right?
Yeah,
There's denial.
and one deals with it more aggressively. Someone else maybe doesn't talk about it, but it doesn't mean that they're not all grieving at the same time.
When was the first time you had to perform after it? And how hard was that?
That was very tricky. I would say I waited about 4 months. And then you kind of go out and then, you try to fuel yourself with the spirit. You try to, listen, I can have a full conversation with Nancy right now, as if she's here. I know exactly what she'd say, because you do. We were together for 36 years. So at a certain point, you literally become one person.
Finish each other's sentences.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that first time you went on,
You
do.
There. Well, I think in a way, work is the greatest healer to that, because, she wasn't necessarily in Boston as I'm putting on a suit and ready to go on stage. She was home. It's when you're home that it becomes more apparent, and then you have to figure it out. This is a thing that none of us avoid.
And then life goes on, right? It's
whether you like it or not, yeah. But the only difference for a while, anyway, you're in the plane, turbulence hit, you go, huh? Come on, bring it on.
Are you a believer? Do you have faith?
You know what, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't, if there's something up there, fantastic. If there isn't, I don't care. So I don't really care.
You don't fear it then?
No, I don't fear it. If there is...
I do.
If there's a fear death, well...
I want to be around.
Well, I got news for you. It's going to happen. But maybe not to you, but it's certainly going to happen to others.
Maybe not to me.
No. You could be. Well, I just think that I'm sure we'll all be fearful in that moment, but I don't know. I just, if you're talking about fearing death, or you're talking about spirituality and an after.
Fearing not being around. The thought of eternity. Eternity. Eternity.
But wait a second. When you go to sleep, when you take your 14-second all at night and your scotch and then you're out, in the stupor that you sleep in, you might as well be dead.
Correct. That's true.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to be frozen. So in case they discover what it is, they bring me back.
Yeah. Then there's an earthquake, and there's the power goes out, and people go, "What's the smell?" And it's old Larry defrosting. That's not a good outcome.
Okay. We'll leave the serious stuff alone and come back with
No,
more
I want to
of
hear more about the defrosting of Larry, which, by the way, would be a beautiful book.
Back with more of Martin
Pop-up
Short.
book.
We'll be right back. We're back with the brilliant Martin Short. He'll be appearing in Florida. He was in Frank. Do you like being a voiceover?
Yeah, you get to, listen, you can record in your underwear, as opposed to this, which I'm wearing no underwear.
Is it acting?
Yes, it's a different muscle. It's a totally different muscle. You know, if someone says, if you're on camera and someone says, do that take and now smile, be a little lighter about it, you can smile. But if you have to put a smile in your voice, it's a different technique. It's like stage, film, television.
I did Shrek, and I did with Jerry
Seinfeld.
I did the B movie, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it was acting. I had fun with it. It's acting
completely.
with your voice.
And it's also, tape is cheap, so they can do as many takes as you want. Listen, Tim Burton said I have the face for animation. It was a compliment, I think.
Where do you think you're going?
School?
What about that dog of yours?
She's not in the house and she's away from your tulips.
I want you to remember something. While your parents are away, I am in charge here.
Yes, Uncle Bob.
Dutch Day is coming up and I don't need any trouble. How's your son coming?
Okay.
Keep at it. Dutch Day is a big day for me.
How did you approach the wedding planner?
Franck?
Franck, yeah, did they let you play with that any way you want, yeah?
Well, you know, the concept in Father the Bride was that Steve Martin was so alienated from the process that when Diane Keaton and Kimberly Williams go to the wedding planner with Steve, that they can totally understand him, but he can't understand them. And so you had to figure out a way to talk in a way that the audience could understand, but Steve could go legitimately, what? And so we did a million takes, and it was like turning a faucet on, you know, a little more, a little more. I remember at one point, the accent became so slight, and Steve said, you know what, guys, there's no joke here. I can understand him. So if I can understand him, why am I going what? And so we turn it up again. And then, you know, when you make a movie, as you know, your job is just to give the editor and the director paints to paint the picture later. So I always think in a movie set, you give the director a wide range of speed, intensity, and then when they put the film together, they might be glad that they have those options.
There had to be a lot of crack-up scenes, all right.
A lot of funny scenes, yeah, yeah. Well, Diane Keaton just laughs all the way through.
Right.
And in fact, when we made Father of the Bride 2, we did, I kind of improvised. I said, do the baby work out. And you can see, and Diane just breaks up in the whole film. They just
Do you
leave
break
it in.
yourself up sometimes?
Not when I'm doing that, because if I break up, I know the take is ruined. You know, I mean, I remember doing a film, this film Clifford, and Richard Kind kept laughing, and I kept saying, you know, when we do these takes, and on one level it was a compliment, another level I'm thinking, oh, now we've lost that moment. So.
Now, we did a whole show once with you as Jiminy Glick.
That's right.
Hosting Larry King Live.
That's right.
And we did Jiminy Glick when you were in your Broadway stage and I came up on stage.
That's right.
How did you find Jiminy? Where did he come from?
Do you know, I was always fascinated by morons with power. You know what I mean? You flip around daytime television and there's a person with a show. They've got assistants, and that assistant's sweating because their tuna fish sandwich was late, and what kind of tuna fish is this? You know, and they have to put up with. So that was one thing. Jiminy could have been a politician. He could have run a boarding school. And then there was a guy on my street who had a voice that went very high and very low. And if you stayed off his lawn all year, he owned a movie theater, then he'd let you go to the movie theater for free. And so I just, you remember that voice. And
then you had to put that.
Well, then I wanted to go out in public and not be recognized. And I'd made a film called Pure Luck, where I'm stung with a bee and my face goes up. And when we shot that day, I remember everyone said, boy, I cannot see your face in that makeup. So I thought, oh, then we'll do a heavy makeup.
The brilliant Martin Short. When we come back, some of your questions. Don't go away. We're back with Martin Short. We'll have some social network questions for you. What did you think of the election?
Oh, I'm a Democrat. I was very happy. I was very happy. I also think when I say I'm a Democrat, which I am, because I'm, Canadian, American citizen, I have a UK citizen and Republic of Ireland.
You have 4 passports?
4 passports. Because, Canada allows you that, and my father was born in Northern Ireland, and my grandfather in the Republic of Ireland. But in Canada, it's a different country. We will. When you sometimes people vote conservative, sometimes vote liberal. What do you have for me? What are you offering this time? In the United States, it's a little more Hatfield and McCoy's. It doesn't matter. You just vote your party. And I just found, like I always felt in 2004, if they had found weapons of mass destruction, I would have voted for George Bush. But if they don't, how do you vote for George Bush? So in this case, I just kind of look at the alternative. And a year and a half ago, I thought, gee, I think Obama could be defeated. But when you are not recognizing so many aspects of the modern day American fabric, which are African Americans, Latinos, gays, and then at one point, the rights of women, you're alienating. It's not 1972 anymore. You're going to lose. But I think Obama's done a solid job in the midst of tremendous obstruction. So I'm optimistic for America.
I'm glad you said that. We have some Facebook. J. Michael on Facebook wants to know, how do you study and prepare to develop a character? Usually a character is based, I think, on human behavior, and people are funny.
And so if you're doing a character and you're trying to be funny as that character, it usually isn't funny. But if you go to your cleaners and the guy says, I tried to get this down, Mr. Shaw, I couldn't do it. And he's wearing madras pants and, you know, the headband. And you think, well, this is like a character out of Saturday Night Live, but he's not trying to be funny. He's just existing in his life. Doing that sincerely can sometimes be much funnier.
So you find it.
You find the sincerity, or you combine different aspects of people. You know, when I did this character, Nathan Thurm, on Saturday Night Live, and he was a very defensive lawyer. And you wanted to make believe that he was always lying no matter what he was saying. So I would always put glycerin on the top of my lip, which reminded me of Richard Nixon, because to me there was nothing funnier than when Nixon looked into the camera of America and said, I don't know where those 18 minutes went. And you knew he was lying. He knew we knew he was lying. But no, it's not mentioned. That, I think, is funny.
Jason Masurka wants to know, can you resurrect the character Jackie Rogers Jr.?
Well, Jackie was a white-faced, redundant, an albino. Because it was, when I was doing SCTV, there was a character I'd go into the writer's office and I'd always say, she loves me, and to my amazement. I want to be that cheeseball guy. But at the same time, Bill Murray was on Saturday Night Live and he was doing Feelings, his lounge singer. And I thought, oh, it'll look like I'm copying Bill. Then I thought, well, I wrote this piece where Jackie Rogers, it was a special that he was killed in while making it. And it had been in the shelf for 9 years, you know, all made up. And so now they were releasing it. It was called Old Mother Nature, She Loves Me. And he's singing through the woods to different animals. And at one point you see a lurking cougar. And as he's singing, a cougar attacks him, kills him. And at the end, we needed his son to come in and say, I miss my dad, I hope you won't, Thursdays at 9. And I just randomly made him albino, because I'd seen a picture of Mickey Rooney Jr., and he looked pale.
Driving Rev Tweets wants to know, what is Marty's favorite place to eat in Toronto?
Giancarlo.
Right out of that.
Yeah, fabulous Italian restaurant.
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo.
Are Canadians different? I like Canadians.
I love Canada. Well, you know, listen, we've had socialized medicine since 1962, and we were all alive. It's amazing. But, you know, but our socialized medicine is based on the idea that alcohol is a disinfectant. So, you know, when people talk about the 47% in our country, we're talking about our blood alcohol level.
Martin, so great to see you.
Good to see you, Larry.
One of my, I love him.
I love you.
The wonderful Martin Short. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can find me on Twitter @KingsThings.